Good morning, everybody. I hope you all are enjoying this lovely Wednesday morning. Here it is starting to get a little warmer than it was, but temperatures are due to drop drastically this coming weekend. So I'm trying to enjoy the mild winter temperatures while we can here. So welcome everybody. My name is The Phoenix, and I am a streamer for things related to Lord of the Rings 5e and D&D 5e, with a particular focus on the Lord of the Rings aspects. Some really exciting news this morning. Yesterday, D&D Beyond announced that they are going to be facilitating the free league publishing content for Lord of the Rings role-playing for 5th edition system. So what does that mean? What is it? We're going to be talking about that a little bit today. I am anticipating that we're going to see a lot of people starting to filter into streams such as this to figure out, is this something I'm interested in? Is this something something that's faithful to Tolkien's works? Is this really easy to integrate with existing D&D games, or does it require a dedicated world? I can answer all those questions and other questions if you guys want to stick around with me this morning. So some other things. We're just getting into naming our latest stream pet. We have this lovely little dragon that you can see in the corner here. He is currently nameless. So if you guys want to leave your name suggestions for our little dragon, please go right ahead. You can comment them in the chat box. He is very adorable and does need a name. So some other things this morning to start us off here. In the Tolkien universe right now, today is today's November 27th in our world. In the Tolkien universe, however, today would be the let's see, I need to do numbers. It would be the 8th of 4 Yule in the Shire Reckoning calendar. So happy 8th of 4 Yule, everybody. Some things that have happened today. So in the Lord of the Rings universe, 3018 of the Third Age, currently in universe, Frodo and Sam are resting in Rivendell, getting ready to quest to Mordor to destroy the ring. And they rest for about 2 months in Rivendell. So probably for the next month here, they're going to continue to rest. What exactly they do over the course of 2 months is somewhat detailed in the books, but some of it is left to our imagination. I'm sure there's quite a bit of arts and reading available to them to enjoy there. Some other things that have happened on this day related to Tolkien, but in our universe. A musical album was released today in 2021 called Music Inspired by Middle-earth. It featured an artist known as David Arkenstone, and it's based on Tolkien's Lord of the Rings book. We also have a book titled The Hobbits, The Many Lives of Bilbo, Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin, which was a adaptation by Lynette Porter on Tolkien's works. Let's see. Today was also unfortunately marks the anniversary of Anthony Jackson's death. So Anthony Jackson was a narrator for the BBC radio adaptation of The Hobbit. So unfortunately, in 2006, Anthony Jackson did pass away. But a maybe less sad note is on this day in 1996, Alexandra Austin was born. So that is the daughter of Sean Austin, and this is maybe a little tidbit fact for you guys. She actually appeared in Return of the King. So she was actually Eleanor Gamgee. So if you guys remember the little girl from Lord of the Rings, the third movie there, yeah, that was actually Sean Austin's daughter. That was Sam's actual daughter. So little tidbit of information for you guys this morning. All right. So that is our stuff that has occurred today. Let's go into a quote for you guys this morning. So let's see what a good one would be. Maybe we'll go with a little bit of a longer quote. We did a Fellowship of the Ring quote last time, so maybe we'll do a Two Towers quote today. So this is from the Two Towers, from the second chapter called The Riders of Rohan. Gondor, Gondor, between the mountains and the sea, west wind blew there, the light upon the silver tree. Fell like bright rain in gardens of the kings of old, O proud walls, white towers, O winged crown and throne of gold. O Gondor, Gondor, shall men behold the silver tree, or west wind blow again between the mountains and the sea. Some exciting quotes here. I'm actually kind of liking the reading you guys the quotes stuff. If you guys like it too, let me know, because I'm testing some things out to see how things go. Alrighty. So Lord of the Rings, 5th edition. So like I said, D&D Beyond ended up announcing just yesterday that they have brought in the Free League Publishing campaign setting and rule sets for the Lord of the Rings. So let's go to the announcement. Gift of Gabby. Hi, how are you doing today? Hope you're well. Thank you so much, Gabby. Yeah, I'm good. How are you this morning? All right, so let's get into the announcement that they did. So we're gonna pull up this announcement. I'm okay. Well, okay is a better than not okay, I suppose. Hope your morning improves this morning. All right. So this was announced 22 hours ago. It's still brand new, this announcement. And it was sent to the emails of everyone who's got a D&D Beyond account. But this has been, really big news coming down the pipeline for everyone who's a fan of Lord of the Rings and everyone who is a fan of the Free League Publishing works. So they put out an announcement yesterday saying, "It's dangerous business going out your door, and Free League Publishing's The Lord of the Rings role-playing will prove it. Now on D&D Beyond, the legendary world of J.R.R. Tolkien has been adapted for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, including new rules for characters, setting information, monsters, and more. Let's explore what this volume contains and how it gives you everything you need to bring Middle-earth to life at your table." So then they have a few different things here, and we're going to read through this because I think knowing what they're telling people is important before I tell you guys, a little bit more about Lord of the Rings 5e. I do have, a sneaking suspicion that some of this information is maybe misrepresented. I'm worried that there's going to be some people who are going to see this announcement and think that it is plug and play content, which it is not. This is not stuff that you can quickly just throw into any old campaign. There's some stuff that has to be modified, stuff that has to be considered when you look at this content if you are looking to adapt it to a regular D&D 5e universe. I wouldn't say that it's impossible to adapt it, but it definitely requires a big grunt work on the role of the DM to adapt it. So let's look at some of the stuff that they've discussed here. So what you find in Lord of the Rings role-playing. This digital volume contains the following, all of which are designed to evoke the grounded yet epic spirit of Lord of the Rings in your games. 6 callings, 6 heroic cultures of Middle-earth, 6 rewards, 42 virtues, 22 new monster stat blocks, a full setting guide to Eriador in the Third Age, 6 patrons, new rules including shadow points, councils, journeys, and more. All of the maps and tokens from this volume have been integrated into D&D Beyond's toolset, so you can save time playing encounters, searching for information, or rolling up characters ready to adventure in Middle-earth. So they kind of give a little bit of information beside each of these to say, callings are classes, cultures are, your races, rewards they've got as traits that improve gear, which is, I guess probably an okay description of it. They've got virtues as feats, which is accurate. I think that the first thing I would say though is, with the virtues, what they don't state here is that not all of those virtues are available to each culture. It's not, okay, you have 42 new feats. It is, you have a guaranteed 12 new feats for any character that you make. So you've got 6 regular common virtues, and then you've got 6 cultural virtues. And those cultural virtues are dictated by the culture you choose. Because you can't just... you can't be a man of Bree and use the feats of hobbits. They don't translate 100%. So, there's a little bit of misrepresentation right off the bat here. All right, so it starts off, welcome to Middle-earth. Tolkien's world of Middle-earth is ripe for adventure, with a notion of deep lore, compelling geography, interesting politics, dangerous foes, and plentiful secrets. All of the history of Middle-earth would be impossible to fit into a single tome, so Lord of the Rings role-playing takes players to one of the most recognizable times and locations amongst fans, Eriador in the Third Age. Yeah, I guess that's accurate. The core supplement, which is what the D&D Beyond is giving us access to. D&D Beyond is not going into all of the other Free League publishing supplements, which I imagine with this announcement they will continue to add the other supplements from Free League publishing for the Lord of the Rings 5e system. It just makes sense. If they go with the core book, why wouldn't they expand it to include the other books? But it's we'll continue reading and see what they say here. So Eriador in the Third Age. The Lord of the Rings role-playing is set in the year 2965 of the Third Age, just 20 years after Bilbo's perilous journey to the Lonely Mountain and roughly 50 years before Frodo first steps out his door with Sam and the One Ring. In this volume, you'll explore Eriador, the northwest region of Middle-earth, which is home to familiar locations such as the Shire, the Grey Havens, Rivendell, Moria, and Breeland. It is a wide expanse that's not fully explored in the Lord of the Rings book trilogies or movies, leaving plenty of room for undiscovered adventures. You'll encounter various servants of the Shadow, uncover ancient secrets, and, if you're lucky, run into some familiar, friendly faces. So, they do have the setting, right? The year is 2965 of the Third Age in the core rule book. You can modify that as you see fit as a lore master. When they say you'll explore Eriador in this volume, I worry that they're setting people up to anticipate that there's going to be a bunch of adventures available in this book, and there's not in the core supplement at least. There's like a little mini adventure that you can do from the core supplement, but there's not like a dedicated outlined adventure available as they seem to be insinuating in this. If you want to get into pre-made adventures for Lord of the Rings, there's definitely lots of that out there. We have the Shire adventures, which are more lighthearted, low-level, kind of campy adventures. Except for the last one. The last one is definitely not campy. The last one's a little creepy. But there's also the Tales of Eriador, which is its own completely different, separate entity, and that is a full-on adventure, pre-made adventure. They've got, I think, 5 or 6 in that book. Patrons. So I will preface, I wish that they had mentioned right away that these are not Warlock patrons, because I think some people will read patrons and think, there's a bunch of stuff for my Warlocks. That is not what patrons are used for. They're basically your quest givers in Lord of the Rings 5e. One of the ways you can interact with Middle-earth's more esteemed individuals is through the patron mechanic. Some extraordinary folk have already begun the fight against the Shadow and have managed to amass the power and influence to aid our heroes. If their goals align with the party's, these patrons may take the heroes under their tutelage, giving them a number of benefits. The patron examples in this volume range from Bilbo Baggins to Gandalf the Grey and even Tom Bombadil, each of whom has unique influence and grants advantages that can shape your journey. And that's accurate. Your patron gives you a number of benefits in Lord of the Rings 5e, one of which is adding to your fellowship points, which is kind of like a group inspiration. But you also usually get a patron-specific benefit that can, if you spend time during what's essentially the equivalent of downtime during your journey. If you spend some of your downtime with your patron as a party, you can gain certain advantages specific to the type of patron you have. So these can be things like you gain more fellowship points. Maybe it's less likely for you to fall under the influence of the Shadow during your next adventuring phase, that kind of stuff. The Rising Shadow. In the timeline covered by the setting, darkness has crept back into the world. While your heroes may not be confronting the Dark Lord Sauron himself, They will undoubtedly come across as deadly servants, like evil men, orcs, trolls, and wraiths. Throughout their adventures, your heroes must contend with these foes and the shadow that burdens their souls. Characters can gain shadow points, and if they accumulate an amount equal to their wisdom score, they will suffer permanent detrimental effects. While certain experiences and foes may make a hero gain shadow points, they can be reduced during a fellowship phase. Okay, that is a complete misrepresentation of the shadow point system, because you do gain shadow points, and that's from dread, grief, any sort of things that weigh on the heart and the mind and the soul of your player heroes. But they continue. So it starts to have detrimental effects actually at when you get equal to half of your wisdom score. But they're not permanent effects. They're ongoing effects until you do certain things to lose those shadow points. But they're not permanent. So at half of your wisdom score, you gain a new condition in the Lord of the Rings 5e system. And then once you reach the amount equal to your wisdom score, you gain a second condition, and you have to experience a bout of madness in order to reset your shadow point score. And when you experience this bout of madness, you descend further on your shadow path, which is how your character is influential to the pull of the shadow. And those, as you get further and further and further down, you gain these shadow scars. And shadow scars are permanent and can only be reduced during a fellowship phase. So they're a little bit of a misrepresentation. I think that they're trying to simplify things, because I think if they explained everything that was happening, people might be confused, because it requires a little bit of detail in order to properly represent everything that's happening. So I'm not passing judgment on their choice of wordings. I'm just worried that you guys, as new players to the system, or new DMs to the system, might think one thing and be surprised when you come in to find it's actually more complicated than that, or more detailed than that. So a fellowship of heroes. While adventures are dangerous and can make you late for dinner or get you killed, they are the heart of every great story. Some folk are born with a spark that drives them out their door, and others have adventures thrust upon them. In Lord of the Rings role-playing, characters may feel more grounded than their typical D&D counterparts, as magic is subtler in Middle-earth. Additionally, callings, similar to classes in D&D, only go up to level 10, ensuring that players are in for a grittier adventuring experience. That's accurate. I would say, saying magic is subtler in Middle-earth isn't the full story, because characters do not have access to magic. They are not, there's no casters in Lord of the Rings 5e. And that makes sense, right? Because, you've got a total of 5 wizards in the entire Lord of the Rings Middle-earth universe. So it makes sense that not everyone's going to be slinging spells. Only really powerful NPCs are going to be casting spells. So callings. So let's see what they say about these, because I do have my own 2 cents about what callings are equivalent to what classes. So I'm curious to see what they seem to think is happening with each of these callings. So let me look up my my stuffs. So let's go captain. There we go. All right. So Lord of the Rings role-playing includes 6 callings. Captain, a charismatic fighter who leads his fellows in battle. That's accurate. Captain is basically your paladin. He's got an aura. He's charisma-based. Your captain is your paladin. Champion, a vigorous warrior and weapon master. Yeah, your champion. Champion is equivalent to fighter. They've got their second wind feature. They're a fighter through and through. Messenger. So I will prefix messenger is a class that I don't feel, a calling that I feel doesn't fit the box of any particular class. So I'm curious what they say about messenger. So messenger, a swift courier with a knack for negotiation. Okay. So I feel like messenger is kind of this strange little calling. It's got elements of bard to it. It's got elements of rogue to it. And then it's got elements that kind of actually remind me a bit of how a artificer is laid out. There's some crafts that messengers are able to do that is not I wouldn't say that a messenger is an artificer, but there's elements that remind me of artificer, but it doesn't really meet any of those boxes. Talon Dragonstar. I would think some of the high elf Noldor would be able to cast spells or at least be artificers that can create some magical items. Elrond, Galadriel, Celebrimbor. Yeah, so in Lord of the Rings 5e, you have your patrons, which are those, famous NPCs. And I think that some of them, there is a opportunity for those NPCs to help you craft what was considered famous items and weapons, famous armors and weapons in the Lord of the Rings 5e system, because there's actually a whole system about what would be the equivalent of magic items in D&D 5e. And certain craftsmanships have different properties available to them. So they've got elven craftsmanship, they've got Numenorian craftsmanship, and they've got dwarven craftsmanship. And depending on the type of craftsmanship, there's different boons available to them, different features that can be applied to these weapons. They can do different things based off of that craftsmanship. But for the player heroes themselves, they are not physically capable of casting spells. They're not able to really do that ancient crafts of these cultures, like the Numenorians and the elven smiths and that kind of stuff. And it's part of it is a balance thing, because as a D&D dungeon master, the amount of times I can count where a magic spell has completely ruined something is numerous. Spells can break things, and in Lord of the Rings, I think a lot of the trials and strifes in the books even would be mitigated if they had a wizard or a warlock or an artificer readily available all the time at the same level that we see in D&D 5e. you cast a teleport spell or banishment, and a lot of things get mitigated. In Lord of the Rings 5e, there is a little bit of more challenge available as a lore master to provide to your players, because they don't have spell casting available to them. While they can have these magic items and these famous items, the power level of these items scales with the player's level. So while they can acquire, the equivalent of a legendary item in Lord of the Rings 5e, if they're only level 3, the power level of that item is muted until they reach further levels. I agree that Lord of the Rings is a low-level magic world. Yeah, it's I actually really like, from a logistical standpoint, I really like running games as a lore master in the Lord of the Rings 5e universe, because it just feels it feels more challenging and more balanced than D&D 5e, because sometimes you have to come up with some really out there solutions, or out there complexities in order to mitigate your players just squashing an entire scene you have set up. I used to have a DM who every single dead body you encountered was without a tongue, because he didn't want us casting Speak with Dead to talk with these things and find out the secrets of these dead people. So almost everything, its head was missing, or its tongue was cut out, or its jaw was ripped off. A lot of that mitigation is not necessary in Lord of the Rings 5e, because if your players come across if they're in Mordor, if they're in Moria, let's go with Moria. Actually, let's pretend we're in Moria and we walk in and we see a dead dwarven body, and we're like, oh, what happened here? Oh, I'll cast Speak with Dead. Hey, what happened? There were drums in the deep. And Gandalf immediately is like, oh, right, yes, they delved too deep. They probably unlocked a Balrog. We should get out of here. That kind of stuff just doesn't happen in Lord of the Rings, because they can't cast that spell. But yeah, Talon, have you played Lord of the Rings 5e, or are you familiar with it, or is this something that you're just hearing about? Just hearing about? Well, welcome. If you have any questions about Lord of the Rings 5e, feel free to ask them. I've actually done entire streams dedicated to the variants between the two systems. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about it. I welcome you to the stream. It's nice to have you here. So let's go back to these callings. So we've gone through captain, champion, and messenger. So you've got essentially your paladin, your fighter, and then a weird calling that doesn't really fit the box of any other class in D&D 5e. Then we've got your scholar. So your scholar is a studious, learned individual with knowledge so profound that it approximates magic. And I would say that the scholar is closest to a bard in D&D 5e. your scholar can actually give you basically bardic inspiration in the Lord of the Rings 5e system. So your scholar is essentially going to be a bard, and you can play like a more like kind of a lore bard type thing. So you can be a herald, I believe, is the subclass, or you can be more of a healer. So you can focus more on the performance and charisma side of things, or more on the healing side of things. Talon, do you think the legendary weapon unlocking as a character level is similar to Mythic Odysseys of Theros god items? Yeah, actually. Yeah, it's so the way they do it in Lord of the Rings 5e, and let me bring it up here because the way they word it is actually really, really great. So let me just open it up here. I will say, you know, I know D&D Beyond just announced that they're offering this content. And I'm not going to mitigate, and say don't buy from D&D Beyond. But if you do decide to buy elsewhere and you decide to buy from Free League Publishing specifically, you do get access to both the physical book as well as a PDF version of the book, which I personally really like as a DM who runs a lot of online games. I think the D&D Beyond only gives you access, if you purchase through them, to a digital copy of the book. So take what you will of that. So let's go down to the equipment. So, all right. So, in Lord of the Rings, you can't go to any sort of store and just buy magic items or buy famous weapons and armor. In order to get this stuff, it is usually passed from a patron to the player heroes, and these items are it's not like, oh, I've got 10 copies of this sword of Elendil. No, you have one sword of Elendil, and it's given to the player characters, and it's usually a momentous occasion. You won't get it for clearing out the rats in the local marketplace. You get it because you're completing heroic feats, and those heroic feats are rewarded with heroic items. So famous items basically have the following. So you choose your item type, and famous weapons and armor, can only be weapons or armor. You don't have any famous cloaks. You don't have any famous rings. Although there are famous rings in this universe, there's no rings to do through the system, unless you decide to homebrew that. So you choose the type of item, and then after you choose the type of item, you determine the craftsmanship, which I kind of went into a little bit before, because you've got your Dwarven, your Elven, and your Númenórean, and that will help decide the banes available for these. So particularly for, let me find it here. So for Númenórean, for Númenórean, you get to choose basically 2 creature types. And so you can choose orcs, trolls, wolves, evil men, or undead. And these bane weapons have been wrought to defeat specific enemies. You also have, if you have an elven crafted item, you can choose similarly a creature type, but you only choose one creature type. And the specifics they have for elven weapons is orcs, wolves, or spiders. So a little less options available than the Numenorian weapons, but there is access now to spiders, which was not available to Numenorians. So you can choose one creature type, and these may be particularly dangerous to those particular creatures. And then you choose what are called qualities. So what I had said about it scaling with the player level is that about these actual qualities. They do recommend a maximum of 3 qualities when you're giving out famous weapons and armor. I think it's because, there's these are basically feats for weapons. And you can choose whatever ones you want. You can even homebrew some if you want to. Some examples of some of these qualities are, here's one. So ancient close fitting. So this is a quality for armor. So you don't apply this, of course, to a weapon. And it is available for any elven armor or dwarven armor. So with ancient close fitting, thank you so much for the follow, Talon. I appreciate that. So for ancient close fitting, you have a +1 bonus to AC while wearing this armor. And while you're wearing it, any critical hit against you becomes a normal hit. So, you can kind of see the similarities between that and regular magic items in D&D. Similarly, let's look at another bane here, or sorry, another quality here. Let's go rune scored armor. So this is for any dwarven armor, specifically dwarven. So you gain actually, let's show a different one actually. Let's talk about a weapon actually. Gleam of Terror. So this is for a dwarven melee weapon. So you can apply this quality to any dwarven melee weapons, not your ranged weapons, not Numenorian, and not Elven. So you gain a +1 to attack and damage rolls made with this magic weapon. And as a bonus action, you can cause the weapon to emit dim light in a radius equal to its reach until the start of your next turn. The light is sunlight. When the weapon gleams, it also deals radiant damage instead of its normal type. So that's kind of cool. And you can imagine, any sort of feature that gives you access to magical sunlight, daylight, is very powerful in any D&D 5e system. So you choose usually about 3 of these qualities for any of these famous items and famous armors and weapons. And then the features remain dormant until the players reach the appropriate level. So if your player heroes are levels 1 to 4, there's only 1 quality unlocked. Levels 5 through 8, there's 2 qualities unlocked. And then level 9 or higher is 3 qualities unlocked. So it just gives you a chance to basically make a staggered weapon that increases in effectiveness as the players grow in power, without completely disrupting the balance of your game. So you don't have to, give them, okay, you get a +1 weapon now, and now it's a +2 weapon, or now you find a hellfire weapon, and now you find a dragon slayer sword. You can give them the weapon that you want for them, or whatever weapon you think is appropriate for them right away, and that item will become brand new and shiny every single time they advance to the next quality. So there's a few different qualities available, and right now, like I'm looking at it, and there's probably about I would say probably about 15 to 20 different qualities available. Um, some, and like I said before, you can choose to homebrew your own stuff. A lot of this is based off of D&D 5e magic items. So if you wanted to balance it a different way, by all means, take that leap. I am a big encourager of doing some homebrew if it makes it fit your campaign better. So after you choose the qualities that you want, then you get to name the item, which is really cool. So you can have, the Arkenstone of Thrain, the Necklace of Geryon, the Phial of Galadriel, the Sword of Elendil. There's a lot of really cool names that you can have, and I think that giving a cool name is probably one of the more fun parts of the famous weapons and armor section. The players, of course, free to name the item, like Bilbo did with Sting. But it's kind of fun to name the item because it makes it feel more epic, in my opinion. So yes, to answer your question, Talon, I would say it's definitely similar. There's also what we consider marvelous artifacts and wondrous items, and they're not the same as your famous weapons and armor. These are essentially like they kind of remind me of the spell Blessed, actually, because what they do is they give you it's considered a blessing die, and it scales based on your level. So if your proficiency bonus is +2, you get 1d4. If your proficiency bonus is a +3, you get 1d6. And if your proficiency bonus is +4, you get 1d8. And you choose a skill that is affected by this blessing. So it is not it's not a straight bless to a weapon. It's not a blessing to your saving throws. It's kind of actually it's basically guidance, a better guidance that you don't have to constantly ping. So you can choose a cloak of that blesses your athletics. You can choose a ring that blesses your nature skills. You can choose a circlet that blesses your riddle. There's a few different suggestions on the type of object in relation to the particular skill that they are blessing. And if you want, you can roll it at random. That's completely fine. But you can actually add multiple blessings to the object if you want to. So you could have it be blessing your intimidation and your maybe your explore, or blessing your old lore and your perception. Any of these are completely fair to decide to do as a lore master. And your party might be like, hey, I actually don't need an item that blesses my hunting, because I never hunt. And at that point, the players can decide if it'll fit someone else better, or if they just want to maybe use it as a means to barter and bargain and gain favor with somebody else, maybe an NPC. So yeah, So that's kind of some of the weapons and armor and item systems. You can also create cursed items. And there's some really cool curses. So some of these curses are related to the player's shadow path, which the shadow path I had kind of mentioned before is how the players become influential to the corruption of the shadow, how they become corrupted to things. So you can have curses related to their shadow path, but you can have curses that are not related to their shadow path as well. For example, we've got what's a good one? Let's go with malice. So the curse of malice. The object does not love its bearer and will try to cause them harm or otherwise trouble them. The bearer takes a -2 penalty on saving throws, and that's all saving throws. So that includes death saving throws. So you can imagine how you can use these cursed objects to increase the difficulty of your game, or use it to unlock some really interesting role play opportunities for your characters. And as you can imagine, like, the One Ring was basically a cursed item. It had its own malice to it, and definitely was not out for the best interest of the party members. So this is all stuff that is inspiring reading through the Lord of the Rings 5e system. So yeah, so back to our callings list. The 9 rings of men were cursed too. Yes, because those were made by Sauron, and they oh. All right. Sorry, I need to take care of this bot. All right. Get out of here. All right. There we go. Gone. Had to get rid of that, sorry. All right. Yes, the 9 rings of men were cursed too. There's actually a few items that I would say in Middle Earth were would be considered cursed. Obviously, Lord of the rings are a big source of curses, and a big thing to include in your games. I would say if you included any sort of ring in your game, your players would immediately be suspicious of what this ring is. Do they put it on? Is it safe? And I think that's a little bit of a healthy level of suspicion on the viewer's part, on the player's part. Yeah. So going back to callings, so we've got our scholar, which is basically your bard. Then we've got your treasure hunter, a quick, nimble, and cunning burglar. And your treasure hunter is your rogue. There's sneak attack. They are a rogue. They have all the elements of rogue to them. There's no hiding that. And then finally, we've got your warden, who is described as a roaming sentinel who guards against the shadow. And your warden is basically a ranger. They've got their preferred terrain, just like in D&D 5e. they're going to be more outdoorsy. They're going to uh, be able to select certain creatures and be able to um, be particularly good at tracking those creatures. So yeah, so those are your 6 callings, which are the equivalent of your classes in Lord of the Rings 5e. So the champion, the captain, the messenger, the scholar, the treasure hunter, and the warden. When I say that these are like different classes in D&D, they are not 100% translatable. There are elements to each of these that differ and deviate from D&D 5e. So do not go into this thinking, you've just found a new subclass for your fighter. It is they're their own dedicated callings. They're their own dedicated classes. I just I give you guys a sense of what they're akin to, because some of us like to play more melee focused people, or more charisma focused characters. So maybe if you have a sense of this is what this one is akin to, maybe that will help inspire you to look into what you might want to play. So then we've got heroic cultures, and cultures are going to be your races for D&D 5e. Unlike D&D 5e, in Lord of the Rings 5e, your culture actually influences your background. So your background is determined by the culture you choose, or your background options are determined by the culture you choose. And each culture has about 6 background choices available, and they're not translatable. It doesn't make sense. One example is, you have your hobbits, and you might have someone who grew up in. I'm trying to think off the top of my head here. So let's say someone has a Bucklander background. They grew up in Buckland. They were raised, in Buckland. They have that blood through and through. It doesn't make sense for that background to translate to a dwarf, because hobbits are suspicious people, and they wouldn't be very welcoming to a dwarf in their midst. So some of these things are just not able to really translate. You might be able to get away with certain changes if you do your own D&D 5e system and want to spend a little bit of time homebrewing stuff to make it fit. But I wouldn't say that the backgrounds translate very well to a secondary setting, because all of these are based off of the Middle-earth universe, off of Arda. So all of these backgrounds usually relate to either events that have occurred in the Middle-earth universe, or they relate to locations in the Middle-earth universe. So the 6 heroic cultures in the core supplement in Lord of the Rings 5e are the following. So we've got your Bardings. So they were followers of King Bard and are the hardy survivors of Dale. So they're humans, but they are not the only humans. You've got your Dwarves of Durin's folk, who are stout warriors and craftsmen from under the mountains. You've got your Elves of Lindon, who are immortal guardians of Middle-earth's fading splendor. Hobbits of the Shire, humble and small-sized folk with surprising bravery. You've got your Men of Bree, who are sturdy and independent dwellers of Breeland. And then finally, you've got your Rangers of the North, mysterious wanderers and exiles of a fallen kingdom with a duty to protect. So these are the 6 cultures available to you in the core supplement. There are actually other cultures available in other Free League publishing books for the Lord of the Rings 5e universe. So those include you've got your High Elves of Rivendell, you've got your Men of Eriador, and those Men of Eriador, you've got Men of Tharbad, the Marsh Folk of Swanfleet, Fisher Folk of the Shore, and then there's a couple other dwarf options. So they've got Dwarf of Erebor, and then they've got Dwarf of Nogrod and Belagost. So all these are options available in other supplements from Free League Publishing. But in the core book, you just have the 6 of them. So, new rules for adventuring in Middle-earth. So, whether your heroes are creeping through a dark forest, negotiating with a powerful faction, or catching up on some well-needed rest, the Lord of the Rings role-playing features custom rules that make gameplay feel distinct from the 5th edition of D&D. And it is distinct. It's a very distinct system. Gotta go to work. Enjoyed your broadcast. Thank you so much for stopping by, Talon. I look forward to chatting with you in future streams. Enjoy your day at work. All right. So they have here a couple specifics. So they've got your journeys, your councils, and your fellowship phases. I have my own way of presenting these, but for posterity purposes, we'll just read through how they have things outlined here just to see, what that inspires me to say here. So journeys. Perilous and spanning travel sequences are oft associated with Middle-earth, and they are vital to gameplay in the Lord of the Rings role-playing. The volume provides in-depth rules for journeys across the rugged, wondrous lands that stretch between bastions of civilization. These rules are designed to make travel an integral part of every adventure, with the goal of immersing players in the wild landscape of Eriador. Characters must plot their intended path carefully, for example, avoiding crossing dangerous, swift-running rivers without bridges, and cannot dare to climb high mountain ranges unless they know where passes are located. Traveling in the game can be dangerous. You never know what might await heroes who venture into the wilderness. These uncertainties take the form of events that can fatigue the party and cause exhaustion. So in Lord of the Rings 5e, the way that they decide, so you essentially decide where you're going to go. And then you decide the path you're going to take to get there. And that path might take you through down roads. That path might take you over open land, or it could take you through deep, heavy wilderness. And depending on where you decide to travel, will decide, the threat level of what you might encounter. It also might determine how noticeable your presence is to the shadow. So what essentially happens is you have roles in the party, and the player heroes each have their own specific role when it comes to the journey phase. And you have your, basically your leader, who is responsible for rolling a skill called travel. And that's a brand new skill in the D&D, in the Lord of the Rings 5e system. And when they roll this travel, it essentially decides how quickly they're going to encounter an event. So if they roll particularly badly, they might encounter an event right away. If they fail but don't do too bad, it'll be a little further on. If they succeed, it'll be even further on. And if they get critical success, that event doesn't happen until way later. And then these events happen to specific members of the party. And those events can affect their shadow points. So certain things they might see that have them make a saving throw against gaining shadow. Certain things they might see might tempt them to do wrong things, which can again lead to the shadow. There could be inconveniences, stuff that sets them back in their journey, maybe delays them, maybe they lose supplies, or they could even have like really good things happen to them. Maybe they see an inspirational sight and they actually lose shadow. So these events don't necessarily have to be bad, but more often than not, they are a detriment to the party in some way or another. And yes, these events, I wouldn't say the events cause exhaustion, but journeying causes exhaustion in Lord of the Rings 5e. So anytime they had to travel over long distances, it's a taxing journey. So when they reach their destination, they're fatigued from that journey. So they had to roll against that stuff. And certain events that occur over the length of the journey can add to the DC required to stave off that exhaustion. So, you always have to be careful how far you're taking things. All right. Councils. Social interactions of utmost importance have new rules in the Lord of the Rings role-playing, where they are referred to as councils. These rules are used to simulate intense discussions between two parties that can have long-lasting ramifications. That's accurate. This system includes a variety of phases in which the party needs to succeed on skill checks to convince their audience to heed their plight. The checks are made more difficult if their audience is at odds with their purpose, and things can turn out badly for parties found to be dishonest or outrageous in their requests. Think of what might happen should your heroes ask Elrond Half-Elven for help, or Tom Bombadil. That's actually a really good description of councils. Things are tense. The party's seeking something, and if they their relationship with the person that they're talking to affects it, and the thing that they're requesting also affects it. So if they've got a bad relationship with someone, it's going to be really difficult for them to succeed, but it might be less difficult if they're asking for something reasonable. And then finally, they've got fellowship phases. So this is basically your downtime. A fellowship phase is the downtime between adventures and can last days, weeks, or an entire season. This is the time provided for heroes to rest, reflect, and regain their strengths before the next adventure. During these phases, characters can choose from a number of undertakings that will provide lasting benefits. They can study maps, write songs, or just focus on easing the shadow's weight on their spirit. Yeah, that's a good little description of fellowship phase. It's your downtime phase. Is when things are winding down after a particular plot arc in your story, and you complete certain downtime activities during that. And if it is during Yule, which is basically a once a year event, kind of holiday, Christmassy kind of esque. If it's during Yule, there's certain downtime activities that are going to be available to them during that season that are not typically available. Because Yule usually is in the heart of winter. Not a lot of people are going to be wanting to be traveling on the road during the heavy, deep winter because it's hard to travel. You don't have snow plows in Middle Earth. So, you're traveling through deep snow. There's not a lot of safe, warm places to rest. You've got limited resources for food and fresh water. There's just so many reasons that you wouldn't travel during the winter time. So a lot of the traveling occurs from spring to fall, and then during the winter time, players travel home to a safe haven and overwinter for Yule. And during that phase, that Yule time, big things happen. There can be big revelations. You can find your next story arc, all that kind of stuff. All right, so it's time to go on an adventure. The Lord of the Rings role-playing is now available on D&D Beyond and has been integrated with D&D Beyond's suite of digital tools. With these aiding your quest, you can easily plot your travel with maps, seamlessly search for content in the compendium, and roll up a hero with the character builder. Will you strike out to find the remains of Anuminus and the secrets it hides? Maybe you'll escort a hobbit farmer along the rough roads of Breeland to the Inn of the Prancing Pony. Or perhaps you'll find some good in this world that's worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Dun 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 dun. All right. So yeah, so D&D Beyond has Lord of the Rings role-playing. I am really excited about this. I think this is going to open up the world for, for fans of D&D, for fans of Lord of the Rings. I think I'm going to end up seeing a lot of people filtering in on my streaming, on other Lord of the Rings 5e streamers, asking their questions, piquing their curiosity about this. And I'm really excited about that because I am an avid fan of this system. I think it is a amazing adaptation of the Lord of the Rings universe. And I am a huge fan of all the stuff that Free League Publishing puts out. So if you guys do not otherwise have this content, be sure to check it out. Be sure to get the core rulebook, Lord of the Rings role-playing for 5e by Free League Publishing. Be sure to check out their other supplements. They've got the Shire Adventures, Tales of Eriador, Ruins of Eriador, and their latest one, Moria, Shadow of Khazad-dûm. So there is a lot of different books available, a lot of great content. I would really, really encourage you guys to check out this stuff and continue to pique your curiosity about it. One quick thing before I head off for a little bit here. We are getting ready to run our newest one-shot adventure, The First Date. So The First Date is a one-shot that I created, and it is based on D&D 5e. It is D&D 5e. So it is not Lord of the Rings 5e. I will preface that. Let me... Oh, can I not find it? Okay, add new source. The First Date. All right, let me put this up on the screen here for you guys so that you guys can see the pretty thing that I made. All right, The First Date. There we go. All right. So I'll try to switch to the scene. Hopefully it doesn't cause my stream to crash here. All right. The first date. This is a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition one shot. We will be streaming this live for you guys on November 30th at 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So that would be 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for those of you on the East Coast of the Americas. This is a D&D adventure. Some things about this. The party has been asked to help a hopeless romantic, and hopeless he seems to be. Help this poor fellow impress his date, ideally without losing his head. So this is a combat-heavy one-shot. We're expecting it to run anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. We'll probably take a 20-minute intermission, probably just after the halfway point, so that I can look after my baby. But if you guys are interested, if you guys are available, I would really appreciate everyone coming out. We will be streaming this live to both Twitch and YouTube, so choose whatever platform works best for you and watch it there. But yeah, this is an exciting little one-shot. It's a part of a little mini-series that I have had going for a few years here. So if you guys are interested, please give me a like, a share, a follow, a subscription. Drop by the chat. I'm happy to see you guys interact. But yeah. Alrighty. So that is going to be the end of our stream this morning. My baby is awake, so I need to go take care of him. But thank you so much to everyone who dropped by the stream today. I really appreciate all of your support, all of the new followers, all the new viewers. You guys are making this a success. And your continued support helps make sure that I am able to continue to do this, that I still have the motivation to do this. So continue to support small streamers where you can. I will probably be streaming again tomorrow morning, but for now I will bid you all adieu. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and remember, if you have any questions about Lord of the Rings 5e, I am your woman. Be sure to check me out on my social medias. I have Twitch, YouTube, Discord, Blue Sky, and all of my Blue Sky stuff. I try and put out information about when I'm streaming on Blue Sky. So hit me up there. It is basically Twitter, but better. And if you have any naming suggestions for our little stream pet, our little dragon, be sure to let me know. I'm hoping that we'll be able to get him a name probably tomorrow. So we will leave it at that. All right, everyone. Take care and have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.